Good evening, and welcome to this work session by the Helotes City Council. It's June 22nd, 2015. We're underway at 6 p.m. And I'd like to welcome all of you here. I'd really like to thank council for coming in tonight, and it was just felt like with the content of these two items, with the Articles of Incorporation for the EDC and the bylaws, that it might take some time to really go through it. And so we decided to call the workshop, and again, I appreciate you showing up. We'll keep it informal, as workshop is intended to be, but still maintain debate decorum. And I just toss it out there. What I thought would probably work best is we'll start with the Articles of Incorporation, item number 4 on the agenda for Thursday night, and just walk through this agenda or article by article, and you guys can make the discussions. I don't know what else I can add, but I'll be happy to answer questions as we go through this thing. Again, what started this whole process is just from interaction that I had with 4 of the EDC board members over a period of a little more than a year. I started going through things, seeing some things that I thought should be addressed, and so decided to bring that to council and ultimately the EDC. And you have all of my rationales and ideas, and so it's in you guys' hands. And so if there's no objection, we'll just start with the articles and go through it item by item or article by article. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Nobody has a problem with that? Mm-hmm. Let me find my spot. And you have my original agenda items as I presented to council. You have some supplemental information and some comments, and then you have the material from the EDC. And so hopefully we can go through here and you guys can decide what's important, what you want to consider, what you don't want to consider, and it is totally up to you guys. Do you want to draw straws for who goes first, or do you want me to just bounce back and forth on each one of these? And I'm figuring 5 or 8 minutes each, and we'll see how the time goes, and we'll just go from person to person, if that's okay with you guys. Okay? On each article, we'll start with a different person then, if that's fine. And again, we're in the Articles of Incorporation. We'll go to Article 1. Alex, we'll start with you. And if you guys,
I think that's an easy one.
huh? Oh, okay.
I don't think we should change the name, sir.
Okay.
That's
good. Hey, you never know. Okay, well, actually, you're right, and then we'll go to Article 2, authorization. I don't remember there being any comments one way or another on either one of those.
I don't think there was any on
Mr. Mayor, the only
either.
thing I would ask is, I presume we're gonna, I'm trying to compare your original remarks, then the highlighted version of your suggestions.
Yes.
And then I'm also have beside that the EDC's recommendations, and then I have your comments, and then I have another letter here. So in some of the articles, we have things that are brought up in yours but not in the EDC version. Some are brought up in the EDC version but not in yours. Some of them are nothing more than capitalization.
Correct.
Or commas, or we're not really
Housekeeping,
addressing the housekeeping
housekeeping
issues. We're not gonna talk about them, or do we wanna say, cause in Article 2, it does have, in the EDC's version, it has a couple changes to capitalization, and I don't know that that's worthy of it. Do we need to address it? Is that something we need to say to our city administrator, who's gonna come back with it later? Are we gonna
I
say,
would
yes,
say
we
any-
should, or
any
no, we
change-
shouldn't?
Yeah, any change as we go in article to article to me, and I did notice that the EDC rejected pretty much everything that I proposed, which is their prerogative. So you're gonna have to determine, but I would say that wherever there's a change, whether it's recommended by me or recommended by EDC, that you guys have to give staff the heads up on, yes, we agree with this, no, let's leave it like it is, or let's make it something different. I would hope that that's how this would all wind up.
Where did you get that?
And
My
most of this we'll talk about tonight. There's no action tonight, but I feel like if there's any changes y'all feel strongly about and can agree on that you feel make sense, then we can make those changes perhaps for Thursday night or just readdress those Thursday night. Is
Mr.
that-
Mayor, may I say that,
Sure.
you know, this afternoon, y'all, I guess y'all didn't have time, but since we directed the EDC to give us their changes, I thought it would be better to work off of theirs and then incorporate the mayor's comments into theirs. That's what I spent all
forgot to bring
afternoon
mine.
doing. Because we can't, it's hard to do two different ones, you know, I mean, it just we did ask for the EDC's recommendations. Let's look at those recommendations and insert the mayor's where we think they need to be or not. And that's basically what I did.
Yeah, the
you have a
thing
copy?
I see with that is that,
The EDC recommendation?
then we'd almost have to go through it twice.
I didn't bring,
So hopefully you don't have the EDCs?
no. You got one?
I'm capitalizing heads.
Yeah,
That's fine.
those are the two. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
So, to me, it would work well doing both at the same time, but again, it's your prerogative. I'm here to hopefully facilitate and get this thing done to where we can take action on, certain elements, if not all of it, Thursday night. So, whatever you want to address, it's your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as my preference, I would like to see the two side by side because I would be concerned that if we went either through yours and then tried to go with the other and then, or EDCs and then tried to jump back and forth, that I'm afraid we'd miss something somewhere.
That's the
And
way I did it when I compared them.
I would just go with the article by article, have the two side by side and say, you know, this is what was one suggestion, this is what it reads, this is another suggestion. Let's come to some consensus and then move to the next article. So with regard to Article 2 authorization, the only thing I see that was a change was changing the capitalizing nonprofit corporation, development corporation, et cetera, adding a hyphen in nonprofit and adding the word "it" in the middle of the sentence. And I didn't read it for that kind of grammar to determine whether or not that's, I mean, they're just housekeeping, but I don't have a one way or the other on the capitalization parts.
Okay, so is there any problem on anybody's part to go ahead and include those capitalization and other items that were in Article 2 as proposed by the EDC?
No,
Okay. Bert?
No.
Okay. So we wanna go to Article 3?
Excuse me, just give me a second, please. Okay, thank you.
there's nothing on Article 3.
Bert, you wanna take Article 3? I don't,
I just found it, or Alex just found it for me. Yes.
I'm trying to
I don't see
trying to
any,
get a hold of mine.
There's no problem
There's
on that
nothing
in
in,
Article
there's
3.
nothing in 3.
it's,
There's
There were no
nothing in 3.
changes in 3.
I think we were gonna take out city charter to do the similar on city
That's,
charter.
that's Article 4.
that's for, I don't see any problem with 3.
Okay, yeah, there's not much there. Okay, then Article 4. That would be 4C. And, Rick brought up a point today that, if the city ever does, it doesn't hurt anything being in here. I just thought that it seemed, strange to have it in here when we're a general law city. Rick did bring up the point that if we ever do decide to consider and citizens agree with us that we should go home rule at some point in the future, it's in here and it's referred to and it would need to be addressed. I don't know that it would have to be addressed, if we become home rule, but that's something to consider. That to me was just a housekeeping item anyway.
Okay, so Article 4, A and B are fine, is that correct?
I didn't.
Is that
I don't
okay with
remember-
everybody?
I don't remember anything being A and B.
No, there wasn't.
EDC, yeah,
If we're gonna go line?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, there did.
Oh, there is some grammar changes
Yeah, however,
on A. Public permit
that
accomplishing.
should be a fairly easy fix. So the question is, do you wanna leave charter in there or take it out? That'll be a question that'll come up.
Actually, I mean, I think, I like Rick's suggestion, if we do go home rule, and it's there and we don't have to worry about it, I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything to leave it,
Nope,
is that correct?
yeah,
What
I
do you
have
think?
the same thought.
Okay.
that's good.
Mhm.
Okay, and that takes us to D, there, and, again, the EDC had a couple of minor changes in theirs.
Can I ask a quick, with these changes that the EDC suggested, they're mostly, I mean, they're grammar. Are we gonna go with the EDC's grammar corrections? Is that correct? Like with A, B, and D? Is that,
Those actually were staffed, or, the grammar
Yeah, I
stuff
think-
was
oh, it
staffed.
came from staff?
Yeah.
I think some
Okay,
of this came from,
Yeah.
Rick.
okay. We're good with them?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so that takes care of, down through D.
Article 5. I don't see any problems with Article 5. Either A, B, or C. Is anybody?
No,
Article 6 is pretty self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Article 7, same thing, no changes anywhere. Item 8, Article 8, EDC made some changes. And I believe,
it was,
these were from Rick also.
yeah,
And he's explained his logic to me, and I don't have a problem with that. Not that mine matters, but it's you guys call. Do you want to, leave Article 8 as the EDC's proposing it?
yeah, if, there's no reason not to.
Any comments from anybody else?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. Which will take us to 9. Well, there is some stuff in B, 8B, but the same kind of stuff. So A and B are okay as they propose it?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Item 9. This, goes to the EDC moving their, office. their
Okay.
Registered office.
On 9, is that coming from staff, or that's not EDC, right? I can't remember.
Article 9, I think I had a comment about requiring council approval. Is that where you told me that it did read council approval, Rick? I don't remember. On 9? Oh, from time to time and with council approval. Yeah, so council approval's in there, and I had just missed that when I read it.
Council approvals in which,
in the second paragraph, it says from time to time
With-
and with council approval,
Mhm.
the board of directors
Okay.
may elect to move the corporation's registered office. I don't recall, I left the one with all my notes on it at home, but, whether the council can, require the board of directors or the EDC to move if we need space here and they're still here. I believe that might have been in my comments.
Yeah, it was in your comments, if I remember right.
So we're okay with Article 9? As written?
Unless you guys would like to have the council have the prerogative whether or not they're gonna move. This says, with council approval, they can choose to move, but I don't believe this addresses whether, if council wants them to move. And I don't know that that's an issue or not.
The only question I have about moving, and I don't care who tells them to move, or if they wanna move, or we want them to move, whatever, is the board of, the meetings that they have, I think that they should be at City Hall.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that,
Yeah, there was never a question in my mind of that, but that's,
but I think that, so that third paragraph needs to be in there, especially if they get, so that it's clear that even if their office is somewhere else, they still would meet here.
yes.
And I think that there's no problem if we could somehow word the second paragraph to say, the board of directors and/or the council may elect to move. I mean, if we feel like that's an issue, I don't know.
Let's see. Cynthia, how would you word that again, please?
Well-
From time to time,
Or I mean, I don't even know why we put from time to time, I would just put, the board of directors, or the city council may direct the EDC to move its corporations.
may elect to move. I like that too. I think council should be able to have that, right?
The board of directors and/or city council, may elect to move the corporations.
Mm-hmm. What you looking for, Mayor?
Yeah, the board of directors and/or city council may elect, and/or city council may elect to move the corporations. Yeah. I wouldn't see a problem doing that.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question, because that does change one other thing. The way it currently reads is the board of directors could do it, but only with council approval. If you word it the way you just did, then the board can do it without council approval.
Okay, then,
And the council could do it without board approval. So if you still want the council to have the final say, then you have to word it a little bit differently, to make sure that the council or the board of directors with council approval
okay,
may.
the board of directors with council approval
And that doesn't alter that requirement.
or the city council
Are
may
you
elect.
looking for this, sir?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah. Okay, there it is. I finally found something.
I had my stuff I walked off without, I had my notes all over everything.
Well, we can give you one. Oh, you had your notes.
That works.
I had my notes on it, yeah. That's okay. I see
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And I did have one other question, if I may, sir, with regard to Article 9 in the third paragraph. I think we all agree that the meetings, as were indicated here, should be held here. That sentence reads that regular meetings shall take place at City Hall. Special meetings under workshops may take place at other locations. Do we want special meetings to take place at City Hall as well?
To me, they should all, because this is where we have the recording, equipment and everything, and the meetings will be recorded.
And it's the open meeting, it's subject to open meetings, and if they had a little office somewhere, there's not gonna be enough room to have really an open
Yeah,
meeting.
so,
So then we would need to, if that's the intent, then we'd need to reword that third paragraph to say,
Meetings and special.
or just put all meetings of the corporation's board
Yeah.
of directors.
All meetings and workshops.
Let me,
Yeah.
can I add something there?
yeah.
If you do a site visit though,
Well,
which is a special meeting,
That's probably what this means, isn't it?
I mean, that's what the intent was, is that all regular meetings would occur on the same day, same time, same location. But there are going to be instances where the board may need to do site visits or what have you. And so that's why I put in there.
That would be fairly obvious.
Huh?
But that would be fairly obvious, that's not gonna be at City Hall. So you could put all meetings, or regular or special meetings would be held at City Hall, except when they involve a site visit or something that requires to be away. However you guys wanna work it.
Yeah, cause if you say all meetings, then that does kind of,
Well, you'd have an
exclude it.
except in there.
yeah, but if you put the except or something. All
So
regular and
regular,
special meetings,
so can I just
go ahead.
give, so regular and special meetings of the corporation's board of directors shall take place at City Hall. Workshops, comma, except workshops and or site visits,
May take place.
something to that effect. Okay.
And the word may is kind of in there too, so that doesn't mean that it's will, it just says it may.
Yeah, workshops should really be here too, I would think, unless it does involve a site visit or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we?
We're in Article 10, and I think
Yeah.
we're in agreement on 9, right?
So you made that change?
Yes.
Okay, then we go to Article 10, and, this comes into the residency requirement and what is considered residency. I read it the way I read it, which means a director should live in Bear County, and the city. But that's totally up to you guys whether to make that a more stringent requirement.
I'm still against the 350 calendar days, because that would also have to get rid of Pat Wooten, who, is definitely out of town, more than 15 days out of the fiscal year. He has a home,
Well, yeah.
a condo in New Mexico.
Yeah, I just put that in there as a suggestion.
And I
doesn't
just
make a
think it's just an
difference to me.
unworkable thing.
Well, it's kind of,
No, it
It's-
was
it's
just
kinda
tossed in there
unenforceable.
To start some discussion on the thing and make it, in my opinion, something that needs to be addressed to keep someone from saying, well, I own property here, but I'm living out of state somewhere else. What's gonna define residency? If you guys don't think it's important, it's your prerogative.
So we agree it should be a registered voter, a resident of Bear County and resident of the city of Helotes or ETJ.
It says with preference given, the change that the EDC added was with preference given to residents of the city of Helotes, its extraterritorial jurisdiction and/or Northwest Bear County.
isn't that what the articles say anyway? I mean, the local government code says that anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, I put that in there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, the registered voter part and the resident of Bear County is a given.
So I guess your being a registered voter, the address on on your registration is your primary,
Yes,
primary residence?
mm-hmm,
Okay,
it is.
I think it should be your homestead, yeah.
okay.
I think the point, the original intent of the registered voter was to make sure that someone is at least interested enough in the city, to be a registered voter and take part in the elections. And that was
Good.
already in there.
Well, it's also a way,
I don't know if I'm understanding the age limit.
18,
Is it 18?
To vote.
No, to be a board.
to be, yeah, it's 18.
Oh.
It's on the very first page, I think.
And as, I don't know if we're finished with that, but I just think we should just leave the 350 day, the actual day thing. another suggestion from the mayor. I know the city, the EDC really saw no problem with city council people being on the EDC, but their reasoning was that they liked it. It kind of gave them a little bit more clout, you know, that there's city council people who could tell them what would maybe go and what wouldn't, you know, because it has to go through city council anyway. That vote was 4-3, and it was interesting that the three city council, well, one was former, Pat Wooten was one of our very first city council members, but it was the three city council people who voted to keep the city council people off, and the four who'd never been city council people to keep the people on. So I guess there is a little difference in the way we view things, the city council, than the way the EDC members who had not. But it was kind of gratifying that they didn't think that we were a problem. So, you know, however, you know, I was kind of going back and forth, being ambivalent about it, but I'm not anymore, and I have voted with the minority each time, and I still continue to believe that it's probably better for the city council to stay off, and let other people step in. So, adding, instead of just saying a director shall not be a city staff member, I would put a director shall not be a city official, staff member of the city, or a member of the city council. I would insert that in there.
And you also said something else too about, something about budget. Like if you remember what you said?
Yeah,
I mean,
one of the things that I remember,
it was, yeah.
during budget time, and I was
Right.
trying to remember the specific occasion when it bothered me, and it was when we were going from $8,000 to 12. Remember, we were wanting them
Right.
to pay more. We were looking for money, basically, and that was when I had a big conflict, because I was thinking, okay, as an EDC member, of course, you don't want to pay any more than you really want to or need to. But as a city council member, I was thinking, yeah, we could really use that extra $4,000 or $5,000, and it was difficult.
It's a
We
conflict.
We ended up voting for the 12,000, you know, but it was
It's,
difficult.
that's one of the factors that I agree with Cynthia on that I don't believe council members need to be on. And Caleb brought up a good point. He said that, you know, what if they have, you know, they could really be an asset to the EDC, and it could be. Sure, they could be, and that's one of the things I've been thinking about too. You know, keeping a council member on, you know, if they were, because they could be a great asset. But I still think the budget one is the one that set me over to the edge and said, you know, hey, I don't think we need council member on the EDC at this
Well,
time.
also you look at all of the qualified people that we have in the city that would be, other than maybe a council member being on there and giving input from the council's perspective, that would still be just their opinion. You have a lot of talented people who
Right.
are waiting in the sidelines to step into vacancies on the EDC, and to me, the incompatibility or conflict potential of a council member being on the EDC is more of a problem than it's worth. It'd be better to have citizens be able to step up and step into those positions. That was my thinking on this.
Okay, and then if we do agree to, it seems like we're leaning this way, it looks like it. So when would the council members that are on the EDC at this time, when would they be, I think you said it'd be effective as soon as the council voted for this, right?
Well, unless you all decided otherwise, to me, the end of the term would be in September. I'd have to look and see which places are involved the end of September this year. But again, we have people waiting, so I would think if you're gonna go ahead and vote that way, you just go ahead and make it
Start,
effective
yeah.
as soon as possible.
Well, Rick, you brought up a point about that too. Once it's in,
If you're going
once
to
it's
make
in-
it effective immediately, then I don't have an issue with it. If you're not going to make it effective immediately, I think you need to say something in here, because my concern would be if you take action in the next month,
On the articles, yeah.
that if you don't say you're a holdover basically until September, if you take action, somebody could contest that and say you're not a legal member of the EDC. But if you're going to step off immediately, there's no issue.
Yeah.
okay.
So we would have to change the very end of this to say, you know, where it says effective immediately, effective, and then we would put the date at September. if we wanted to continue, right?
If you wanted to continue, I believe that that's probably a better.
Okay, well, why don't we hear from the other two and see what they have to say?
Okay, so, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I agree with what I believe the others, that 350 is very difficult to address. I think that principal residence is the way it might ought to be, or that way the majority of the time, and I think that we would know whether or not somebody is principally residing here or not. So with regard to that perspective, I would agree that I think they need to be a principal resident in this area to serve in that capacity. I also concur with the others that we should not have a city council member serve in the same capacity as the EDC member. I am of the opinion that given that the two members are part of this conversation, you can either designate it or make it a moot point by resigning upon the date of the election. What we have to be very careful of is to make sure that we don't have two vacancies that make the board ineffective until we have time to actually go through the posting, the selection, the voting, and all of that, to where we end up with too few people on EDC to where it's not functioning while we wait for that process. So we would have to time that to where if this does happen, that we have the backups ready to go, so that we don't have any gap in that participation. And I don't know if we're only talking about those two, but there's another couple sections in here that should be brought up. One is the EDC's suggestion in Article 10D, line 5, where they've added a few words to make the sentence read, the city administrator or his or her designee, and the addition is, who shall be approved by the board of directors. That addition is large, and I think we need to discuss whether or not we want the board of directors to determine whether the city administrator can or cannot designate somebody. I would think that shouldn't necessarily fall to the board, and it should retain the same wording that it has now. And then, of course, the attendance requirement. I am of the opinion that we do need to install some level of requirement to attend. Voting at these sorts of things is critical to the functioning of the EDC. I think everybody agrees to that, and if you don't attend, you can't vote. Also, if you don't attend, you can't hear the discussion, and you can't be a party to making the right decision because you don't get the information in the same fashion as just reading it either on paper or otherwise. With regard to the mayor's recommendation for a director who is absent for more than 3 meetings during the fiscal year, unless excused in writing, I read that to mean 4 or more. I think that's fair, given the fact that if they have presumably 12, and
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
25%.
right, but we might want to add that these would be regular meetings, because if they have, an extra 12 or 15 special meetings, we want to consider that as well. That may be a little bit difficult of a requirement, make that wording as regular meetings. But I would like to see that if an individual misses that many, that it come to council, not just an automatic removal. I think that the fact that there's other provisions in here, both the EDC, the mayor, and the current wording say that a director can be removed with or without cause by council. I think that someone who misses that many meetings, it should come up on a council agenda to determine at that time whether or not that individual needs to be replaced. We would also have to address it anyway, because we'd have to address a replacement. So I think that if someone were to miss that many, that we would need to have that bring before council. That's my thought. I don't know how to word that, but that would be my opinion there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Paul, do you have any comments?
I guess just going back, I'm in agreement, I think I said that before, though, taking out the 350. I did also notice, same thing with, Councilmember
appoint the designee of the executive director,
That's on D.
D?
Yeah, it's Article 10D.
Article 10D, right below the list of names.
You'll find the addition in the EDC's recommendation.
That's what I'm looking at. Oh, D, okay.
It's, the last sentence from it on that.
Yeah, again, I left my notes at the house, but, I had put on there too that somehow the council should have some
What I
input
w-
on that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I do think, however, that the board of directors should have some input in the person that they're
Sure.
gonna hire.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what I did was I put the city administrator or her designee, who shall be approved by the board of directors with final approval by a majority vote of the city council, shall serve as the executive director. So that's what I thought.
Did you get that? Or you'll get it from her?
It's basically board of directors and city
You wanna
council.
read it one more time?
Who shall be approved by the board of directors with final approval by majority vote of the city council, which I don't know if you need the majority vote,
No, I
but
think
obviously.
if you just say who shall be approved by the board of directors and city council.
Okay, that'll work.
Anybody have any comments on that?
Not on that, but I have a
I
comment on
would-
something else.
Rick, do
I would make a comment on that. I think that if you're going to make the final authority the city council, you shouldn't have in there shall be approved by the board of directors and city council, because then
Well,
you
what
have
I-
a situation
One
where
or the
both
other
of
could
them
say
have to approve something.
Well, no, my suggestion would be, because the corporation are the ones that this executive director, this designee is gonna be working for, right?
Sure.
So, the process has been where, like, for the EDC specialist, they were brought forth and they were interviewed, and then they kind of voted, okay, I like this person. That's what I'm talking about, the
Yeah,
board of
no,
directors.
so it's more of a recommendation to council.
Recommendation,
Recommendation, that's
okay.
what I was gonna, suggest adding in there. That way we
Who
could
shall
have
be a
a yes or no recommendation, but the final approval would be council.
Yeah, that's good.
Who shall be recommended.
'Cause
By the
Rick-
board of
Rick has a good
directors.
point written the way.
And
he-
approved
He
by
said it
city
would have to be approval by both before it could happen.
Yeah.
Now, are we talking just about the executive director, or are we talking about the, specialist also?
Just the executive director.
Just, this just concerns the executive
Yeah.
director?
mhm.
Okay.
And
And can this executive director be removed? Does it address how we remove an executive director if we
You-
need to?
You would fire you would fire me.
No, council.
But then that would have to be a council action,
yes.
and/or the board, does the board?
No. Council, you would have to terminate the city administrator for him or her not to be executive. The executive director is always going to be the city administrator.
Right, no, I understand that, but we talked about the city administrator or his designee. That's what I'm talking about, the designee.
The
Is
desi-
that
the
your
desi-
what-
the designee would be recommended by EDC and voted on by city council.
You just need to word it to where it says that, because if you don't put any commas in there, then you're saying the city administrator.
There is a comma there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it has to be worded properly, otherwise you're putting the city administrator and the designee as being recommended by the board to the council. And you have to separate those two somehow.
Sure. And we will do that.
Grammatically.
I don't think I've answered your question, sir.
I guess I'm just, I understand that you're the city administrator and the EDC executive director, but
Yes.
this also addressed a designee. Could
If-
you address,
It is only if the city administrator does not wish to fulfill the duties of executive director of the EDC.
exactly,
And
You
that
could
is
appoint
when that person would then recommend that that position be filled by somebody else,
okay,
who would then, under this scenario, would then go to EDC Board of Directors, and they would recommend either approval or denial to council. And council would make the final decision as to whether they will allow the city administrator to appoint that person.
And,
Okay, but
and
how do we- how do-
he would be fired by the city administrator,
Okay.
because he would be directly under the city administrator.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
mean, if I
question.
wanted to, if that person wanted to step back in that position, the way this reads, I would think that person is always entitled to be in that position. If they want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you approved a designee and we didn't like his job, then how do we get, you could fire the designee.
I would say then I would say, write a letter and say, I am now the executive director.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
And I agree that we need an attendance requirement as well.
Can we
Okay,
clear?
let's, yeah, Bert, you haven't had your chance on that.
On in that same vein, can we, I think 4 is too many absences. We only meet 12 times. The EDC only meets 12 times a year, not including workshops and stuff like that. 4 is too many.
You could say 3 or more.
That's what no, it's more than 2 meetings is the way we'd have to word it to make it 3. And what would be excused in writing? What kind of excuse would it be? I mean,
Yeah, that was a tough call. I just left that in there. The same thing is there for council. It's a tough call,
yeah,
because there's nothing that really says what an excused absence is. Generally, it's sickness, or death in the family is what, I think the policies and procedures say.
so how would you do this? I mean, you would email the president and tell him I can't attend this month's meeting because my dad died. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Well,
is
that's
that
what
an
happens with
excuse
council,
in
yeah.
writing? Would that be good enough?
Yes, anything by
It's up to
email is legal and it's,
It's up to you.
Okay,
yes,
all right.
it is.
I would say
I-
that.
But
Some kind of
to me, 3,
communication.
I don't think 2, I think we need to give them 3. Remember, this is a
No,
volunteer
Cynthia, the way it's
position.
written here, it's 4.
Well,
It says more than 3, which is 4. That's too many.
so they miss 3 meetings, and
No.
it's the 4th meeting that gets them thrown out. I'm okay with that.
I would
It's a
I would go
volunteer
more than
position.
2 meetings.
No.
It's
I
just
would
discussion.
I would recommend just saying a number or greater, 3 or more.
That's what I said, 3 or more.
Well, that's not what this.
That means they'll only be allowed to miss 2 meetings, so that's what you all would have to decide on. They can either miss 2 or they can miss 3.
Well, the city council has 3 consecutive meetings, or is it 3 meetings? 3
Three consecutive.
consecutive
3
meetings.
consecutive, yeah.
Why can't we use the same for this one?
Because we meet twice a month. There's only 12 meetings.
And
That's it.
you wouldn't necessarily wanna say consecutive, that, they could be missing,
That's right, they only
they
meet
could miss
once a
6
month.
meetings a year, but none of them would be consecutive.
Consecutive. Well, just, the 3 meetings is enough. So they missed 3, and then they can come up
Some
for being
action.
dismissed.
Yeah,
On
Some
the
action
4th.
would go.
that's the way it is at ACOG. Any input
I
on
think,
that?
yeah, I'm okay
On
with
the,
that.
So they
after
can
the
s-
3rd meeting,
Hmm?
it would come to city council.
After
or
the 3rd.
possible
We never
action.
really have paid much attention to attendance until this all came to light, and then we started looking at attendance also, which was part of the process, and that's how this came to light, was
So-
when we
so
saw
if
that some
someone-
of them were missing so many meetings.
If someone sent an email saying, I'm working, I'm working tonight and I can't make it to the meeting, that wouldn't count as an excuse?
I wouldn't.
It's really up to the chair or the board, just like with council, to decide what's excused or not excused. Like I say, sickness or illness is generally at, work. Sometimes comes into play, but I don't know that would necessarily be an excused absence. You should be able to plan your work, around meetings. If you can't, you can't. It's really up to you guys. We've never
So
pressed the issue on
theoretically-
council.
Yeah, theoretically, then you could actually miss more than 3 meetings and as long as they're excused
Yeah.
correctly, like if sick, or whatever,
Mhm.
right? Theoretically, you could,
Theoretically.
okay. I don't think that we should
Don't put
be,
excuse, just eliminate excuse and put 3 meetings.
I think it's imperative that they have to show up. Because, like I said, it's only 12 meetings. And actually, we've had some canceled meetings, so it's even less than that. I mean, the EDC has had some canceled meetings, and it's even less than that.
yeah, we have been. I just don't think we should be that dogmatic, you know.
I
think
do.
we need to give a little leeway, for the president to decide, you know, as far as the excused absence. I do agree there should be a number, but then you start getting real, you know, you're gonna end up with no quorum at some point. There's a reason that you have a quorum when you have 7 members. You know, the quorum is 4 people. And the reason is because they, you know, they know that people are gonna be absent, sometimes 3 at a time. You know, last city council meeting, there was only, what, 3 of us?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be 5. So, you know,
I
yeah,
didn't comment
obviously
on
that's
that.
not the optimal way to work, you know, obviously, but, you know, I just think, I think that we should have an attendance number, and I think it should be 3. And I think we
So-
should leave the excused in there and leave it up to the discretion
Well, at some point, though, you brought it up, it could be abused. It depends on who's gonna determine excuse, cause someone could have 6 or 8 absences and they'd all be excused, so it's something to consider.
yeah, maybe, I think that could be an internal policy that we could direct EDC to write up. What is an excused absence? And it needs to be something that's very, you know, is having a, you know, like, one of the issues that we had with one of our directors is he has 3 small children, and one of them was just born about 1.5 years ago, which caused him to miss quite a bit because he had to be home to help his wife. And so when you have directors or people who volunteer, who want to volunteer, but they have family responsibilities, so would that have been an excused absence if he said, I can't come, I have to take care of, you know, the baby. My wife is a pediatrician and she's working tonight. You know, is that an excused absence? Or should we tell people who have small children, you might as well not volunteer because you're not gonna be able to make all the meetings?
Yep.
Pretty
I-
much, yeah.
I agree. I think we can tell them that.
Okay. And then.
I'm
but
retired now, and,
but-
you know, there'd be a lot of stuff. I'd like to be fishing at Medina Lake right now.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
That's your choice and you're retired, but I'm talking about
they have a
families
choice
that
too,
have-
whether or not to be here or not. And once they make a commitment to be here, they need to
Yes,
be here.
I understand that. On the forms that they filled out, all you can do is go by what the forms say, and it says on there, when you first apply, doesn't it say, can you, how many hours of,
Can you commit?
can you commit?
Right?
And I think, we don't ask them, they just say, some put 5, some put 10, some put 20, whatever, you know,
Right.
however many hours. Like, usually it's about 10 from what I could tell.
Yeah, just reading from our policies and procedures we just approved for a committee, it says if a board, commission, or other advisory committee member fails for any reason to attend 3 regular meetings within any 12-month period, that member shall automatically be considered for replacement. And then under absences, it says, excused absences are not permitted on boards, commissions, or other advisory committees. Due to quorum requirements, when an absence is anticipated, the individual member is responsible for notifying the chair in advance, and the absence shall be counted against the member's attendance record. That's how all of our committees are, and,
So there's no such thing as an excused absence according to
not on
that.
our committees, according to the policies and
But
procedures.
it is for city council?
I think it reads in there. Alex, are you done with your comments on that? Alex, any follow-up on that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you, yes. I don't know whether 3 or 4 is the right magic number for it, but I still am of the opinion that, and I think Councilmember Massey, one of your concerns is the automatic nature of being removed for not being present. That's why my suggestion earlier was that we have those come to council to make that decision, and then, you know, because the council gets to decide whether or not an individual has abused the absences or not. I know the board certainly is going to have some opinion on that. Anytime someone doesn't show up, the rest have to carry that weight, and it's not a good thing. But I think that once an individual misses a certain number within a calendar or within a fiscal year, that it should come to council. I don't know that it should be automatic. And allow the council then to be the judgment as to whether or not these were extraordinary absences or regular absences that just keep occurring.
I agree. You know what? I think that's a good idea because I think one of the problems we've had is perhaps when you are on the board, you're the president, you get to know these people and they're your friends, and it's really hard to say,
Yep.
you're out.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that's a good way to solve that
And that's
problem.
another reason to not have a councilman on the board.
Yeah.
right?
So we agreement we can do three? After
Yes.
three,
I would say at
the
least,
fourth meeting, it comes to council?
Yeah,
that, I'll go for that.
okay.
Good.
Okay.
You? I'm good. Okay. Goes to council.
Yes.
Correct. Yes,
That's real good.
And that would be any absence, so the excused part would be removed.
And then, yes. And then who keeps track of it? I know I guess,
Glenn does, the EDC specialist.
And then
yes.
it-
Specialist, yeah.
do we need to, he would inform, I guess,
Executive.
okay.
Yeah,
Do we,
so it'll be brought to the executive director, or city administrator, and they'll put it on the agenda.
do we need to put anything in here in words?
I would ask, I think it's getting a little, this is just my opinion, it's getting a little too cumbersome to
Yeah.
wordsmith this.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think the big thing is let's get the big issues, and then you're already gonna see it on Thursday anyway, so we'll send these out tomorrow with the revisions.
well, that's true, but, we hadn't been here an hour yet, and a lot of this, we can hash out tonight, like we're doing, and then we won't have to discuss it on Thursday.
that's good, unexcused.
Yeah, just go ahead and work it out here.
Any absences, yeah, when you come here, we can decide.
Yeah,
Did anyone, have anything else on this
no, sir.
attendance? Everybody's okay with the way it came up? Okay, next then would be, let's see,
Next up is 11, isn't it?
well, we have that paragraph underneath the original board members. Let me get my notes here. It
What-
seemed like that was repeating something that was already there.
Number 11 is bylaw, sir. That's,
I'm looking under 10B. See what they changed.
oh, 10B?
They crossed out that each director, including this director, shall be eligible for reappointment. If it says it a second time, that's okay. D, did we go over D? The, board of directors shall elect a president, vice president, secretary, and any other officers of the corporation necessary to serve as executive officers of the corporation.
Yeah, we went through that one. That was the
there's
one
no-
we
D
no change.
already
yeah,
tonight?
we did that one.
Okay.
Yeah, Cynthia,
The only thing that Rick is the one who wanted to remove to provide administrative support services, and you wanted to keep it. Is there a conflict, or is there a reason why you would wanna leave it or keep it? It's on the same D that was the one thing we didn't talk about. To provide administrative support services for the corporation. And
Where are you?
on D, the one we were just talking about,
Okay.
your suggestion was to keep it, and Rick had wanted us to remove it.
Okay.
That was a staff recommendation to remove it, so does it matter? Rick?
The mayor and I spoke today, and I understand where he's coming from, so, I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way. I think what we were trying to do by removing it was, again, come up with clear lines of authority.
Right.
And so that's why we removed it, and it's really,
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Either way, so. Okay,
So we're removing it? That's what you had
I-
recommended, right?
that's what, he wanted to remove it.
No, we had that talk, and you had your input, and I wanted to hear it. That's the way you had written it, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, let's remove it.
Okay, so that takes us to,
Article 11.
11.
There's no change. I know, it's confusing.
I can't even count.
11 is just,
Okay,
typo things.
Paul, you haven't been up first yet, so, you wanna attack 11? What's in 11? Just some housekeeping, capital letters. And 12 also, might as well look at 12. There's nothing
Yeah, I
really in
think 11.
12.
Yeah,
At the time of original corporation,
and we can't remove those original, no,
uh,
they just need to be in there.
didn't really, yeah, we didn't really look at it since they're part of the original, document, that just leave them in there. Just like the original incorporators, the original directors. Item 13. I think I had put in there that it's resolution, but, Rick had, pointed out the intention for this, and I was fine with it.
So we're gonna keep ordinance?
Yeah, 14,
Yeah.
No, 13.
13, yeah.
So you're gonna keep, you don't want the resolution, you want ordinance back in there?
Resolution is in there. In other words, this is
Okay,
gonna be handled by resolution, but the original articles of incorporation were by ordinance.
Okay.
That's what we talked about, Rick, right?
So just fix however you want it.
So just leave that. Okay, that takes us to 14, which, there were no changes in, the EDCs.
I don't think there was any changes all the way down.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty well it then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now we go to bylaws.
I have never been so confused in paper. I can't shuffle it like I do in bylaws.
Mayor, can we have a 5-minute recess, please?
Yeah, Bert, is asking for a short recess. Is that
Okay.
okay with everyone?
Yeah, I need something to drink.
That's what I need to.
Okay, let's say, by that clock, let's go 10 minutes, come back at 5 after.
Grace, I pulled items 4 and 5 out of Ed's packet to give to Bert. So,
He's not gonna be here.
no,
Thursday.
but, okay. I just wanna make sure that he didn't come in like, what happened? So, since I sort of cannibalized it over here. Okay.
We need to be sure and number these pages on the articles.